Hey, what's up? This is Chosen, and I wanted to do a video talking about gold and selling things and farming gold and the different numbers to expect to hit and what you should be acquiring on your account per hour and per day and some of the things to consider while you're trying to manage your gold effectively. Let's get into it. Okay, so first of all, when you're going through your inventory quickly after doing a run, typically what people are going to do is sell the yellows and then salvage all of the legendaries while checking to see if there's any good aspects that are worth extracting from those legendaries. And I uploaded a YouTube short about this, but you do also want to watch out because some of the yellows will say, like this one right here, unlocks a new look on salvage. So when you're early in a season or you're new to your Diablo 4 account and all of that, if you care about the transmogs, watching out for that message is something you'll want to look out for instead of just like blindly selling all of your yellows constantly. And then also when you're going through and you're doing your runs, if you ever have a downtime, like you're waiting for a boss to spawn, there's an animation for a Malignant Heart Elite where you've got like 6 or 7 seconds to wait. If you really want to be efficient on your gold per hour, what you want to do during that time, you're waiting for an event to spawn, whatever the case may be, you have 5 to 10 seconds of downtime. You want to pop open your inventory and you want to go through and you want to mark your stuff as trash that you don't want. And you can do that on PC by hitting spacebar. So you just go through here and do this on these items, and then what that's going to do is allow you to sell all of them in one click. So you want to mark them to sell, that way when you go to town you can go like 5 times faster. And you can see down there on the tooltip that it tells you right there underneath the equip, link, and compare, it says mark as junk. So that is definitely a feature you'll want to use if you're trying to play efficiently and make your town trips as quick as possible. Because when you're at the merchant and you've got a few things here marked to sell like this, I've got these 5 things marked to sell. We go up here to the merchant, and then when I right click to sell, it sells all 5 of them in one click. So sometimes you'll have your whole inventory marked to sell and you'll be able to wipe it out in one click if you're taking advantage of all of those times where you have downtime of going through and marking things really quickly. But I wouldn't mark your legendaries as trash, even if the legendary itself is trash and even if the aspect is trash. I would still make sure that you salvage your legendaries because you're going to get the crafting materials that you need to be going through your account, upgrading your gear and stuff like that, and you won't have to like stop and go do hell tides or something like that. So I would definitely sell your yellows and then crunch your legos, and depending on the gear piece that you're salvaging, you'll get different materials from it that you'll need on your account as you're leveling up. And then when it comes to farming up a lot of gold, typically you just want to do like nightmare dungeon speed runs and pick up all of the yellow items that you can and be going to town to sell all of them in one click by going through the marked for trash and just stashing away a bunch of gold like that. Now typically the kind of numbers you can expect is you're going to average filling up your whole inventory about every 5 minutes or so if you're playing efficiently and you're picking up the yellows that are dropping. A lot of people tend to only pick up the ancestrals because they don't want to go to town too often. But if you're really diligent about making sure that you get as much gold as possible, you can pick up everything and sell it because the sacreds do still sell for pretty decent. You can see right here, I've got an ancestral weapon that sells for 34. I've got a sacred weapon that sells for 21, but some of them have a lower gap. Like this one right here is a sacred that sells for 28. I mean, 28 for a sacred versus 34 for an ancestral. It's not like it's, you know, 1/3 as much or something. You can still sell sacreds for a decent amount, but usually people don't want to go to town too often, so they just pick up the ancestrals. And also from what I've been able to tell, if you do have to prioritize something, like if you're really speed blasting with a good group and you don't want to stop and go to town too often, if you have to prioritize certain items, from what I can tell, the ones that typically sell for the most are going to be weapons and jewelry. Some of the armor slots, like your pants and your boots and your chest armor and stuff, they tend to be a little bit lower. You can still find ones that sell for decent, but I would say on average, what I see is armor and jewelry tend to sell for the most, and that's typically true for the trading market as well. A lot of times, like amulet and gloves probably will be like the 2 ones that people are really seeking after to pay for within the community, like trading gold on Discord servers and stuff. And then also rings and weapons have a lot of value as well, offhands. And then typically like the ones that have a lower value is like your boots and your pants and your chest armor and your helm. But if you have a god piece on any slot, it's gonna do okay selling in like the player to player gold market. So let's say you are being efficient. You're going through, you're picking up stuff, you're filling up your inventory about every 5 minutes or so, and you're also picking up a decent amount of gold as you're playing throughout the game. What I've tended to notice is once you're like level 65, 70 plus, most of your full inventories are gonna yield somewhere around 300k. Sometimes it'll be a little bit less, a little bit more. You can sell like uniques or something and, you know, pop off for like 200k with one item or something, but usually you salvage those or keep them. But anyway, if you sell a whole inventory of yellows, you're gonna get about 300k. And then during the process of farming up that full inventory of yellows, you usually pick up about another 200k. So you get about 500k every time you farm a full inventory. And if you're doing that every 5 minutes or so, that means you would do it 12 times an hour, which would give you 6 million gold per hour. But because everybody's just gonna naturally have a little bit of downtime, you're chatting, or you go to do something quick at your place or whatever, you're not gonna be like perfectly efficient down to the second. So you're gonna average probably about 5 million gold per hour. And that's if you're being diligent and really picking up all the yellows and making sure to mark them and going to town and clearing your inventory and all of that. Another thing you can do is find nightmare sigils that have the gold find positive affix on them. They are kind of tough to find. It seems like they're pretty rare. I don't see them a whole lot, but if you get one of those good nightmare sigils with the gold find positive affix on it, that can be a good one to do with a group or with a friend and use the sigil resetting method to go ahead and farm that over and over and over, especially if you're doing one like Older's Cave, a one that is really rich on loot dropping and gold and tons of mobs to kill. If you find an Older's Cave gold find, that would be one you kind of want to save and mark to group up with a friend and do the resetting method on it, because you could probably get pretty close to 10 million gold per hour if you were doing something like that. And then there's going to be some strategies that are like hyper endgame, where you have a really cracked build and you're doing a really good method and you're being super efficient. Like you're not even really looking at stuff. You've got like your min-max build and you're just going for gold. You could probably get up over 15 million gold per hour if you were running something like a gold find Older's Cave, picking up every single yellow and then just snap selling it, going to town and getting back in and keep going. You could probably get somewhere around like the 15 to 20 million per hour gold mark. Now, if you're a solo player and you can't really reset sigils or anything and you're looking to farm up gold, a good spot to go for just consistency would probably be to do Older's Cave. I've done a dedicated video about Older's Cave on the channel here, and you can be a solo player and just kind of go through in World Tier 4 and clear normally on the dungeon and just kind of farm it up that way. Or you could do like Hell Tides in the open world when they're available and just kind of run around the zone, popping chests and killing mobs and farming up all sorts of stuff there. And as long as you're efficient and you're constantly acquiring things into your inventory and you're going to town, you're marking them, you're selling them, you should be acquiring a decent amount, like 4 or 5 million gold per hour. And also, by the way, what's super lame is, why are gems so trash? Like, this doesn't make any sense. Like, even lore-wise, gems in like every society throughout human history have had high monetary value. Like, I mean, and nowadays in modern society, you have these gemstones and diamonds and stuff, and they always have good value. Why in the world do gems sell for like a couple gold coins a piece? It makes no sense. Like, a lot of people get to a point where they don't even want to loot these gems anymore. It would make a lot more sense if gems would sell for something. I like, even at least like a few thousand a piece, they should sell for something, you would think, when you loot them. So a very interesting decision there, and I hope they address that at some point so that people at least have a reason to loot gems, even if they're not going to be using them anymore because they've already got max level and everything. But yeah, gold is definitely an important resource in Diablo 4, and it's actually a lot more important than it was in Diablo 3 because re-rolling gear is insanely expensive, and we can also trade for good yellows and stuff like that. So having a good stockpile of gold to be able to buy some GG items, usually good items will go for about like 1 or 2 million gold a piece, and then really good items will go for like 5 to 10 million gold a piece, and then god tier items I've seen go for like 50 to 200 million, somewhere in there. So having a good stockpile when you're bouncing around different communities or trying to interact with other players can definitely help you on acquiring some of those amazing pieces if you're trying to really push the limits of your character. So, okay, I'm going to get back to the grind and continue to work on theory crafting and testing stuff and crunching numbers and working on build guides and all of that type of stuff. So it would mean a lot to earn your sub down below today if you enjoy daily Diablo 4 content. I'll see you soon in the next video. Thanks. Peace.